Welcome to this episode of the story. Have you subscribed yet? Chapter 135, Breaking Through the Blockade and Fierce Pursuit. Sumo and his grandfather stood on the boulder in the river, surrounded on all sides. The spirit balancers stood on the riverbank, spread out in a fan shape, their eyes filled with a sense of certainty. Meanwhile, the huge water python in the river coiled not far away, staring at them covetously, flicking its tongue from time to time with a hissing sound. Sumo knew well they couldn't sit and wait for death. He quickly thought of a plan. Although the spirit balancers were powerful, they were blocked by the river and couldn't launch a full-scale attack directly. The water python, though ferocious, could also become an opportunity to escape from the spirit balancers. "Grandfather, I'll lure the water python away first to disrupt the spirit balancers' formation. You find a chance to attack their weak point, and we'll take the opportunity to break through," Sumo whispered to his grandfather. Grandfather nodded slightly, gripping his staff tightly, his eyes showing determination. Sumo took a deep breath, channeling the combined power of his time-reversing spiritual energy and spatial spiritual energy to cast time-reverse spatial decoy. He condensed part of his spiritual energy into an illusory figure that emitted a similar spiritual bouillon to his own, drifting toward the downstream of the river. The water python was instantly attracted by this decoy. It twisted its massive body and charged toward the decoy like an arrow released from a bow. The spirit balancers were slightly stunned by the python's movement, and their formation fell into a brief chaos. "No good, he's trying to escape," the spirit balancer leader shouted. The spirit balancers quickly readjusted their stance, preparing to intercept Sumo and his grandfather. At that moment, grandfather seized the opportunity to cast spirit explosion shrapnel. Countless pellets filled with powerful spiritual energy shot toward the spirit balancers, exploding among them. For a moment, flames shot up into the sky and smoke filled the air. The spirit balancers hurriedly cast defensive spells, their spiritual shields lighting up instantly to block grandfather's attack. But this sudden assault still left them flustered, creating a gap in their encirclement. Sumo canned in a moment, grabbed his grandfather, and cast time-reverse spatial leap. Under the influence of time-reversing and spatial spiritual energy, their figures instantly vanished from the boulder and reappeared at the gap in the spirit balancer's encirclement on the riverbank. "Chase them! Don't let them get away!" the spirit balancer leader roared. The spirit balancers ignored the lingering smoke and explosion aftermath, quickly chasing after Sumo and his grandfather. Sumo and his grandfather fled desperately through the forest, with the spirit balancers hot on their heels. While pursuing, the spirit balancers continuously cast spiritual spells at them. Streams of spiritual light shot from behind, exploding around them and splashing mud and gravel everywhere. Sumo kept using his time-reversing spiritual energy to set up time traps behind them, trying to block the pursuit. When the time traps triggered, light flickered, and some spirit balancers, unable to dodge in time, fell into a state of temporal disorder, their movements slowing down. However, the spirit balancers were numerous. Those behind quickly bypassed the time traps and continued the chase. The spirit balancer leader, growing increasingly angry, cast spirit balance swift shadow step, instantly increasing his speed and chasing after Sumo and his grandfather like a black bolt of lightning. "Sumo, you can't escape no matter what today," the leader shouted as he chased. Sumo and his grandfather's spiritual energy was continuously depleted from the previous battles and escape, and their speed gradually slowed down. The spirit balancer leader was about to catch up. He condensed the spiritual spear in his hand and hurled it fiercely at Sumo. The spiritual spear, with a sharp momentum, shot towards Sumo like a meteor. Sumo felt the danger from behind, quickly turned around, and cast time-reverse spatial barrier. Colorful light flickered, and a solid barrier appeared before him. The spiritual spear struck the barrier with a loud crash. The barrier trembled slightly but successfully blocked the attack. Sumo let out a sigh of relief, but he knew the leader wouldn't give up easily, and more intense attacks awaited them. Just then, a stone forest appeared ahead. The stones in the forest were of various shapes, towering into the clouds, looking very peculiar. An idea sparked in Sumo's mind. This stone forest might help them shake off the spirit balancers. "Grandfather, let's head to the stone forest. We can use the terrain there to lose them," Sumo said. Grandfather nodded in agreement. The two rushed into the stone forest, and the spirit balancers followed without hesitation. However, the paths in the stone forest were intricate. Sumo and his grandfather turned left and right through the forest, quickly disappearing from the spirit balancer's sight. The spirit balancer leader was furious, stomping his feet. He loudly ordered the spirit balancers to split up and search. "We must find them. Don't let them escape." The spirit balancers scattered, carefully searching for traces of Sumo and his grandfather in the stone forest. Sumo and his grandfather hid behind a huge stone, cautiously observing their surroundings. Sumo knew the spirit balancers wouldn't leave easily. They had to find a way out of the stone forest quickly while being wary of any spirit balancers who might appear at any moment. As Sumi was thinking about their next move, he suddenly heard faint footsteps not far away. Sumo and his grandfather tensed up immediately, gripping their weapons, ready to face potential danger. The footsteps grew closer, and Sumo and his grandfather's hearts raced. When the footsteps reached the stone where they were hiding, a figure appeared slowly. Sumo and his grandfather looked closely. It was Lin Yun, the old man they had met in the cave earlier. "Gentlemen, don't be nervous. It's me," Lin Yun said with a smile. Sumo and his grandfather relaxed their guard but still felt confused. "Senior Lin, why are you here?" Sumo asked. Lin Yun smiled and said, "I've been following behind you, thinking I might be able to help. I'm quite familiar with this stone forest, so maybe I can help you escape the spirit balancers." Sumo and his grandfather were overjoyed upon hearing this. "Then we'll trouble you, Senior Lin," Sumo said. Lin Yun nodded, leading Sumo and his grandfather toward the depths of the stone forest. Under Lin Yun's guidance, they navigated through the forest, avoiding groups of searching spirit balancers one after another. However, just as they were about to exit the stone forest, a shout suddenly rang out. "There they are!" Sumo and his grandfather's hearts tightened. They knew they had been discovered by the spirit balancers. The spirit balancers quickly surrounded them, encircling Sumo, his grandfather, and Lin Yuan. The spirit balancer leader looked at Lin Yuan, a trace of confusion in his eyes. "Who are you? Why are you helping them?" Lin Yuan smiled and said, "I'm just an old man living in seclusion in the forest. I can't stand seeing you ganging up on the few." The spirit balancer leader Leng Heng added, "In that case, you can die with them." With a wave of his hand, the spirit balancers unleashed powerful spiritual spells, attacking Sumo, his grandfather, and Lin Yuan. A new battle was about to erupt. Could Sumo, his grandfather, and Lin Yuan successfully break through the spirit balancers' siege? Did Lin Yun hide any secrets? What would be the outcome of this battle? Everything was uncertain, making one anxious for their fate. Sumo quickly cast Time Reverse Spatial Shield, protecting the three of them inside. The shield, shimmering with colorful light, trembled violently under the spirit balancer's attacks, making a cracking sound as if it might shatter at any moment. Grandfather and Lin Yun weren't idle either. Grandfather waved his staff, casting Spirit Frost Prison. The surrounding temperature dropped instantly, and a thick layer of ice formed on the ground, spreading toward the spirit balancers, trying to slow their movements. Lin Yun formed hand seals and muttered incantations. A mysterious ruin array appeared before him, emitting a soft light, which then condensed into a spiritual sword. Holding the sword, Lin Yuan displayed exquisite swordsmanship. The spiritual sword danced in his hand like a flowing light, colliding with the spirit balancer's attacks and splashing spiritual sparks everywhere. The spirit balancer's attacks grew more intense. Various spiritual spells intertwined, forming a dazzling yet deadly light curtain. Sumo felt the pressure on the time reverse spatial shield increasing, and his spiritual energy was rapidly depleting. "This can't go on. We must take the initiative and find a breakthrough," Sumo shouted. Grandfather and Lin Yun nodded in agreement. Sumo concentrated, observing the rhythm of the spirit balancer's attacks and their positions. In the fierce battle, he noticed that the spirit balancer's defense on their left rear was slightly loose during their attacks. An idea came to Sumo, and he said to his grandfather and Lin Yuan, "Grandfather, Senior Lin, I'll distract their attention. You attack their left rear ribs, weakly defended." With that, Sumo cast Time Reverse Spatial Phantom Raid, creating multiple phantoms of himself that charged toward the spirit balancers. The spirit balancers, seeing the numerous phantoms, redirected their attacks toward them. Sumo took the opportunity to sneak toward the spirit balancer's left rear. Grandfather and Lin Yun immediately understood. Grandfather cast Spirit Flame Surge, a Xiong wave of fire surging toward the spirit balancer's left rear. Lin Yuan also waved his spiritual sword, casting Spirit Shadow Sword Slash. several sharp sword ki, along with the flame wave, attacked the spirit balancer's left rear. The spirit balancers sensed the danger from their left rear and tried to adjust their defense, but it was too late. The flame wave and sword ki hit their left rear, and several spirit balancers were struck by the flames and sword ki, letting out painful screams. The spirit balancer leader, seeing this, was furious. "You useless fools! Attack with all your might! Don't let them escape!" The leader attacked again. A spiritual longbow appeared in his hand, and he knocked a spiritual arrow, shooting it towards Sumu. Sumu felt the great power of this arrow. He quickly used his time-reversing spiritual energy to dodge, but the spiritual arrow was extremely fast, closely chasing him. Just as the arrow was about to hit Sumu, Lin Yun suddenly appeared in front of him, waving his spiritual sword to block the arrow. "Sumu, go!" Lin Yun shouted. Sumu gave Lin Yuan a grateful look. He knew this wasn't the time to thank him. They must seize the opportunity to break through. Taking advantage of the spirit balance's chaos, Sumu cast time-reverse spatial impact again. A powerful wave of colorful spiritual energy swept toward the spirit balancers. Wherever the energy wave passed, space seemed to twist into a vortex, and the spirit balancers were knocked to the ground by this force. Grandfather also took the opportunity to cast Spirit Explosion Barrage. Spiritual bombs exploded one after another among the spirit balancers, with flames shooting up and thick smoke billowing. Lin Yun waved his spiritual sword, moving through the spirit balancers like a ghost. His swordsmanship was exquisite, each strike accurately piercing the spirit balancer's vital points. For a moment, the spirit balancer's screams filled the air. The spirit balancer leader, seeing this, turned livid with anger. He knew that if this continued, not only would they fail to capture Sumu, but their own side would suffer heavy losses. "Everyone, hold your ground. Form a defensive formation. Don't panic," the leader shouted while forming hand seals to cast Spirit Balance Guardian Shield. A transparent spiritual shield protected him and some spirit balancers, blocking Sumu and the others' attacks. The other spirit balancers, hearing the leader's shout, quickly readjusted. They cooperated with each other, forming a tight defensive formation with layers of spiritual shields diejia, creating a solid defense line. Sumu saw that the spirit balancers had reorganized their defense, knowing that breaking through would be even more difficult. But he didn't flinch. His eyes grew firmer as he quickly thought of a way to break the deadlock. "Storming like this won't work. We need to find the key flaw in their defense to deliver a fatal blow," Sumu said, his gaze scanning the spirit balancer's defensive formation. Lin Yun nodded slightly, watching the spirit balancers warily as he said, "These spirit balancers are well trained, and their defensive formation is very tight. However, no defense is completely flawless. Let's observe more carefully." Grandfather gripped his staff, gathering his remaining spiritual energy, ready to attack at any moment. "Xiao Mu, just give the orders. Grandfather will cooperate fully," he said. Sumo took a deep breath, focusing on observing the flow of the spirit balancer's spiritual energy. In the intense confrontation, he noticed that when maintaining their defensive formation, the spirit balancer's spiritual energy transmission node at the rear was slightly weak. Moreover, if this node was destroyed, the entire defensive formation would have a chain reaction and collapse. "I found it. Their rear spiritual energy transmission node is the key. If we destroy it, we can break through," Sumu said, pointing to the rear of the spirit balancer's defensive formation. Lin, Yun, Yuan, and Grandfather looked in the direction Sumu pointed, immediately understanding. "I'll distract their attention. You take the opportunity to attack the node," Lin Yun said. Before Sumo and Grandfather could respond, he rushed toward the spirit balancers like a stream of light. Lin Yun cast Spirit Shadow 1,000 Illusion Steps, his figure moving rapidly among the spirit balances, dazzling to the eye. The spirit balancers, seeing Lin Yuan charge, turned their attention to him, and various spiritual spells poured toward him. Sumo and Grandfather seized this opportunity, quickly sneaking toward the rear of the spirit balancer's defensive formation. Sumo cast Time Reverse Spatial Stealth. Under the influence of time reversing and spatial spiritual energy, his figure became illusory, approaching the node silently. Grandfather followed closely behind Sumo, ready to support at any time. When Sumo got close to the spiritual energy transmission node, he suddenly cast Time Reverse Spatial Shattering Fist. With a punch, space seemed to tear, and a powerful force directly impacted the node. Grandfather also waved his staff, casting Spirit Thunder Annihilation Strike. A thick bolt of lightning shot from the tip of his staff, hitting the node along with Sumu's attack. With a loud boom, the spiritual energy transmission node was successfully destroyed. The entire defensive formation instantly dimmed, and cracks appeared in the spiritual shield, teetering on the verge of collapse. The spirit balancers, feeling the change in their defensive formation, panicked. "No good. The formation is breaking," one of the spirit balancers shouted. The spirit balancer leader's face changed dramatically. He hadn't expected Sumu and the others to find and destroy the key flaw in their defensive formation. "Hurry, reorganize the defense," the leader shouted, trying to repair the node. However, Sumu and the others wouldn't give him the chance. Sumu cast Time Reverse Spatial Storm. Centered on the destroyed node, time reversing and spatial spiritual energy formed a powerful storm that swept toward the spirit balancers. Grandfather cast Spirit Flame Incineration, and a sea of fire spread among the spirit balances. Under the double attack of the storm and the sea of fire, the spirit balances' defensive formation completely collapsed. They were knocked flying by the powerful force, falling everywhere in the stone forest. Sumo, his grandfather, and Lin Yun took the opportunity to break through, rushing toward the outside of the stone forest. The spirit balancer leader, watching their fleeing figures, was filled with unwillingness and anger. "Chase them! We must catch them!" The leader struggled to his feet, leading the remaining spirit balancers in pursuit of Sumu and the others. The three of them ran pinning through the forest, knowing that the spirit balancers would not easily give up the chase. After this series of battles, their spiritual energy was greatly depleted and their physical strength was almost at its limit. "Senior Lin, are there other dangers in this forest?" Sumo asked as he ran. Lin Yun frowned slightly and said, "This forest is full of crises. The deeper we go, the greater the danger. However, we have no other choice now. We can only move forward, and maybe we can find a way to shake off the spirit balancers." Just then, a mist appeared ahead, thick and obscuring visibility. An idea sparked in Sumu's mind. This mist might be an opportunity to escape from the spirit balancers. "Let's enter the mist and use the environment inside to lose them," Sumu said. Grandfather and Lin Yun nodded in agreement. The three rushed into the mist without hesitation. The spirit balancers dragged out the edge of the mist and stopped again. They knew the mist hid unknown dangers, but were unwilling to let Sumo and the others escape. "Leader, what should we do?" "They've entered the mist," one of the spirit balancers asked. The spirit balancer leader's face was dark. He thought for a moment and said, "Chase them! Don't let them get away! Everyone, be careful and stay alert." The spirit balancers entered the mist cautiously. However, as soon as they entered, they found that the mist was permeated with a mysterious force that interfered with their perception, making them lose their way. Sumu and the others faced the same problem in the mist, but Sumu discovered that his time-reversing spiritual energy seemed to have a faint resonance with the mysterious force in the mist. Although this resonance was weak, it could guide them in a general direction. "Follow me. I can sense a rough direction," Sumu said. Grandfather and Lin Yun followed closely behind him, trusting his judgment. After groping through the mist for a while, Sumu suddenly felt a powerful spiritual bodong ahead. His heart tightened, and he signaled Grandfather and Lin Yuan to stop. "What's wrong, Xiaomu?" Grandfather asked softly. "There's a powerful spiritual bodong ahead." "It seems there's some powerful existence," Sumu whispered. At that moment, a pair of huge eyes appeared in the mist, Shanshuo Ying with eerie green light, staring fixedly at the three of them. Then, a massive figure slowly emerged from the mist. It resembled a keyline, but its entire body was covered in scales shimmering with mysterious runes, exuding a powerful spiritual pressure. Sumu, his grandfather, and Lin Yuan stared at the suddenly appearing mysterious beast, filled with vigilance. They knew that having just escaped the pursuit of the spirit balancers, they were now facing a new, powerful enemy. How strong was this mysterious beast? Could they defeat it? And would the spirit balancers take the opportunity to catch up? Everything was uncertain, making one anxious for their fate. The mysterious beast took a slow step forward, shaking the ground. It opened its huge maw and let out an earth-shattering roar, which rolled like thunder through the mist, making Sumu and the others' eardrums ache. Along with the roar, a powerful spiritual shockwave swept toward them. Sumu reacted quickly, casting time-reverse spatial shield to protect the three of them inside. The shield, glowing with colorful light, trembled violently under the impact of the spiritual shockwave, making a cracking sound as if it might shatter at any moment. Grandfather and Lin Yuan also cast their own defensive spells, cooperating with Sumu's shield to jointly resist this powerful impact. What kind of beast is this? How can it have such great power?
Grandfather said with a 凝重 expression. Lin Yuan frowned slightly, a trace of thought flashing in his eyes. I've never seen a beast in this form, but the runes on its body seem to be related to ancient spiritual seals. Perhaps it's a powerful existence sealed here. The mysterious beast seemed to sense their resistance. The eerie green light in its eyes intensified, and it let out another roar. Then it raised its huge paw and slammed it down towards Sumu and the others. The massive paw was like a small mountain, carrying 1,000 jun of force. Wherever it passed, the mist was dispersed, and space seemed to be torn apart. Sumo knew the power of this strike. He concentrated all his spiritual energy, deeply fusing his time-reversing spiritual energy with spatial spiritual energy, and cast time-reverse spatial slash. A huge, colorful spiritual sword key met the beast's paw. With a loud boom, the spiritual sword key collided with the beast's paw, erupting with dazzling light and powerful spiritual fluctuations. The sword key left a deep mark on the paw, but it did not cause fatal damage to the beast. The beast angrily shook its paw and attacked again. This time, a layer of green light fancied on its body, and streaks of mysterious runes flew from its body towards Sumu and the others. The runes were extremely fast and contained powerful spiritual energy. If hit, the consequences would be unthinkable. Sumu, his grandfather, and Lin Yun defended with all their strength, various defensive spells interweaving in an attempt to block the runes' attack. However, the runes were numerous and powerful, and their defense gradually showed pojan. At this moment, the spirit balancers, hearing the commotion in the mist, rushed toward their direction. When the spirit balancer leader saw the mysterious beast and Sumu and the others fighting, a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. This is our chance. Wait until they both suffer losses and we'll reap the benefits, the spirit balancer leader whispered. The spirit balancers all nodded, quietly approaching the battlefield, waiting for the best time to make a move. Sumu and the others had to deal with the mysterious beast's attack while guarding against the spirit balancer's sneak attack, their situation becoming increasingly dangerous. Could they find a way to survive under this double crisis? What would happen between the mysterious beast and the spirit balancers? Everything was still unknown, and a tense atmosphere permeated the entire misty area. The story continues with more excitement to come. Subscribe soon.